You know, every town has its stories, but some of the best ones are the quiet ones. Today, we're going to share a local legend you probably haven't heard, a story about a hero who never wanted any credit at all.
So let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard the one about Mr. Roy? If you're from around Woodward, maybe you've heard whispers, but probably not the whole story. And well, there's a really good reason for that. It's because he never told a single soul. Not when it happened, not in all the years that came after. He just kept it to himself, the quiet keeper of a secret that changed a life. All right, so our story starts in a place we all know, the hallways of a middle school. We're going to head back in time a bit to meet this quiet observer, the one guy who saw what everybody else just walked right past.
Okay, picture it. Woodward Middle School. You can almost hear the lockers slamming shut, the squeak of sneakers on that old linoleum floor.
Yeah, we're going way back to a time when phones were stuck to the wall with a cord, a little bit of a different world. And a time when getting a snack meant you had to have a pocket full of quarters ready. It was in this world that our quiet hero moved around, almost like a ghost. And this was him, Mr. Roy. Every single day, he was there in his forest green jumpsuit. He had this smell. It was a mix of clean pine sol and the sweet peppermints he always kept in his pocket. To just about everyone, he was part of the scenery, quiet, steady, and pretty much invisible. But here's the thing you gotta understand, and this is so important. The janitor sees everything. More than the teachers, more than the coaches. They move through the school in a different way, and they see what happens in the spaces in between. And this is really where our story kicks off. Because one day, Mr. Roy's unique point of view focused in on one particular student, a boy who was carrying around a struggle that no one else could see. His name was Benny, and he was walking around with this cloud over his head. And we're not talking about a fluffy white cloud. No, this was the heavy kind, the kind that presses down on you, that you can't see, but you can definitely feel. And what's so wild is who didn't notice it. The math teacher, they were focused on the numbers. The football coach was all about the next play. Even Benny's friends were just caught up in their own worlds. But Mr. Roy noticed. So what did he do about it? Well, it wasn't some big dramatic scene, no grand gestures at all. It was actually just a few small, quiet moments, but they ended up changing everything for that kid. It was just perfect in its simplicity. First, he just found a reason to be nearby, sweeping the floor a little longer than he needed to right by Benny's locker. Then came the simple offer, a peppermint. Then a soft question, not pushy at all. Doing okay? And then, maybe the most important part of all, he just stood there and listened. Think about this for a second. There were no lectures from Mr. Roy, no judgment in his eyes, just steady, solid listening, like an old porch swing that don't squeak. What a beautiful way to put it. It was just this reliable, comforting presence. And in that quiet moment, Benny finally felt seen. But the story doesn't stop there. Not at all. That one little conversation started sending out ripples, creating this quiet legacy that went far beyond that one hallway. See, Mr. Roy knew that just listening was only the first step. So a little while later, he quietly made sure the school counselor somehow happened to have a chat with Benny. It was totally anonymous. Nobody ever knew where the tip came from. And Mr. Roy, he just went back to pushing his mop. So what happened because of all this? What was the real impact? Well, Benny made it. He got through school, he got his feet on solid ground again, and he grew up to be a kind, strong man. And here's the best part. He became someone who always listens, especially to the quiet ones. He passed that gift from Mr. Roy on to others. Years went by. Mr. Roy eventually retired, and he left the same way he'd always worked, quietly. There wasn't a big retirement party, no gold watch, no plaque on the wall. He just slipped out the back door one last time. His story still untold. So, what are we supposed to take away from a story like this? Well, the story of Mr. Roy gives us this really incredible lesson on what being a hero is really all about, and is probably not what you're thinking. Here's the first part of it. Sometimes the person making the biggest difference isn't the one with the loudest voice or the fancy title. Sometimes it's the quietest person in the room, the one just watching and listening and holding everything together without anybody even noticing. And this is a thought I really want to leave you with, because this is what real heroism can look like. You don't need a cape. You just need to be willing to carry a mop, or whatever your version of a mop is. You just have to be willing to pay attention, to really notice the people around you. And hey, maybe it wouldn't hurt to always pack some extra peppermints, just in case. For more stories that bring Woodward's past to life, you can visit woodwardshoutouts.com and subscribe for free. I'll see you next time.